They'll tell you this video is dangerous, and they're right. Because what you're about to hear won't just challenge your beliefs, it will tear down the illusions you've built your life around. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every time you thought, maybe it was my fault, this will reframe it all. This isn't just a theory. This is a survival manual written centuries before your pain had a name. Close your eyes for a second and imagine this. A man, we'll call him Noah, spends his entire 20s chasing the dream he was sold since childhood. Find the one. Fall in love. Build a life. Live happily ever after. So he does it. He invests time. He invests money. He opens up emotionally. He tries. Over and over again. But each time he's left drained, discarded, manipulated, or ghosted. By 35, Noah is divorced, emotionally hollow, financially wrecked, and spiritually empty. Sound extreme? It's not. You know someone like this. Maybe you are someone like this. This isn't random. This isn't bad luck. This is systemic. And the man who saw it coming 200 years ago was Arthur Schopenhauer. The romantic illusion. In his Metaphysics of Love, Schopenhauer dissected the fairy tale of romance with surgical clarity. He argued that what we call love is not some grand spiritual connection. It's a biological trap, an evolutionary trick designed by nature to ensure reproduction before reality sets in. That butterflies in your stomach feeling, nature's bait. The obsession, nature's handcuffs. The heartbreak, nature saying, thanks for your genes. You may now suffer. And here's where it turns darker. Modern society didn't just inherit this illusion, it weaponized it. Romance becomes transaction. Schopenhauer warned that as women gained power, and remember, this was radical in his era, the concept of love would evolve from something based on duty and companionship into something transactional, strategic. He wrote, women are directly adapted to act as the nurses and teachers of our childhood, precisely because they themselves are childish, frivolous, and short-sighted. Now, before you dismiss that as pure misogyny, understand the historical context. In 1850, if a man got divorced in Europe, he didn't just lose his wife, he lost his children, his home, his status. He could be ruined overnight. Meanwhile, the woman faced little to no consequences. Sound familiar? Schopenhauer called it what it was, the legalized robbery of male labor. Fast forward 200 years and the story hasn't changed. The actors have. The courtroom script never changed. Look at the numbers. Today, 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And in most cases, the man loses half his assets, half his life's work, gone. Because someone wasn't happy. Let's take Friedrich, a German merchant in the 1800s. He married a woman of good social standing. She secretly funneled his money to her lover's business. When he discovered it and filed for divorce, the court sided with her because of her emotional fragility. He died alone, penniless, working in a labor house. Now replace 19th century Germany with modern-day family court. The script is the same. It's just been upgraded with hashtags and lawyers. Schopenhauer's grim translation. He once wrote, "A man's happiness is to do what he wills. A woman's happiness is to will what he does." Translation. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed, to extract, to drain, to exploit from you. The psychology of enslavement. Let's go deeper. What if the real trap isn't even the legal system? What if it's psychology? Modern psychology has been subtly weaponized to keep men compliant. The language of therapy, vulnerability, and emotional openness sounds good until you realize how it's used. Take the concept of emotional labor. Originally, it was a critique of women's unpaid household work, but now it's a tool to guilt-trip men into self-blame. You're told to open up, share your feelings, be vulnerable. But here's the brutal truth. Women punish emotional weakness. A 2019 study from Social Psychological and Personality Science found that men who display vulnerability, especially sadness or fear, are viewed as less attractive, less competent, and less desirable by women. They called it the weakness penalty. Schopenhauer just called it natural order. Oliver's story. Meet Oliver, 28 years old, software engineer. His girlfriend tells him, "I want you to open up more." So one night he does. He shares everything. His childhood trauma, his deepest insecurities. The nights he cried himself to sleep. She hugs him, tells him she loves him. 2 weeks later, she leaves. Her reason, "I just don't see you as strong anymore." That's not an anomaly. That's the rule. Schopenhauer warned, a woman's love is conditional. A man's love is sacrificial. And when sacrifice is demanded but never returned, that's not love. That's slavery. The legal iron fist. If psychology is the velvet glove, the legal system is the iron fist. Schopenhauer wrote, "Marriage is a trap set for men by nature and perfected by society." Let's talk no-fault divorce. Introduced in the 1970s as a way to free women from unhappy marriages, but the outcome, disaster for men. 80% of divorces initiated by women. Divorce rate rises 50% if the woman earns more. Men lose 50% of their assets on average, and 80% of custody battles. This isn't equality, it's predation. Robert's fall. Meet Robert, a surgeon in Florida. He marries his college sweetheart, works 80 hours a week, builds their dream life. At 45, she files for divorce. No infidelity, no abuse, just "I'm not happy." The court gives her the house, half his retirement, and $4,000 a month in alimony. Robert now lives in a cramped studio apartment. At 62, he still works because he can't afford to retire. Schopenhauer would say, the law doesn't punish wrongdoing. It punishes existence. The marketplace of attention. Instagram, TikTok, Tinder. These aren't apps. They're attention markets where women auction beauty and men bid with validation, money, and effort. And again, Schopenhauer predicted this too. He wrote, "The more choices a woman has, the less capable she is of love." Jake's illusion. Jake, 23 years old, college student, matches with a girl on Tinder. They text for weeks. He takes her out 3 times, pays, waits. She ghosts him. A month later, he sees her on Instagram on a Bali vacation with a guy who drives a Lamborghini. Caption, "Know your worth, queen." This is the paradox of choice in real time. Women drowning in options become incapable of attachment. Men starving for affection become disposable, the final prison. But what if the ultimate enemy isn't dating apps, family courts, or even the illusion of love? What if the most dangerous trap is inside you? Because here's the hardest pill to swallow. Modern men have been brainwashed into worshiping their own chains. You've been trained since birth to believe that being used is noble, that sacrifice is masculinity, that pain is your proof of love. And Schopenhauer saw this coming too. He called it the will turned against itself. When a man no longer needs chains to be enslaved, he believes in them. When he sees his suffering not as injustice but as his duty, he becomes the perfect slave. The silent collapse. Let's get painfully real. There's a silent collapse happening, one that's invisible to mainstream media, ignored by governments, and mocked on social platforms. It's the mental breakdown of the modern man. Every 30 seconds, somewhere in the world, a man takes his own life. In the West, men make up 75% of all suicides, and divorced men, 8 times more likely to end their own life than married men. This isn't just a stat. This is a ritual sacrifice. The final commentary. Schopenhauer wrote, "The first 40 years of life give us the text. The next 30 supply the commentary upon it, showing how much we have misunderstood. But the tragedy is most men never make it to the commentary. They die inside their scripts. And some, like Marcus, don't just die inside their story. They end it altogether." Marcus was 32, a brilliant engineer. 6 months after his wife left him, taking their daughter Marcus, jumped from the 14th floor of his office building. His suicide note read, "I'm sorry I wasn't enough. Not smart enough for my father. Not strong enough for my wife. Not rich enough for society." What no one at his funeral mentioned. The family court judge had ruled he could only see his daughter twice a month unless he increased his child support payments. The last search on his phone. How to disappear without debt collectors finding you. This isn't personal failure. This is systemic extermination. The 3 lies that keep men in chains. So how does the system keep working? Simple. It runs on 3 core lies, each designed to keep you compliant, docile, and self-blaming. Let's break them down. Lie 1, love will save you. From fairy tales to rom-coms, from childhood to adulthood, men are sold one core belief. A woman's love is redemption. The damsel becomes the savior. The relationship becomes the reward. Love will fix you. But Schopenhauer, he dismantled this fantasy in the world as will and representation. He argued that love, far from being salvation, is nature's way of ensuring compliance disguised as beauty, affection, and obsession. Look at Goethe, Germany's literary giant. At 23, he fell hopelessly in love with a woman named Charlotte Buff, who was already engaged. His heartbreak inspired The Sorrows of Young Werther, a novel so devastating it caused a spike in suicides across Europe. Goethe's later reflection: love is an ideal thing. Marriage, a real thing. A confusion of the real with the ideal never goes unpunished. Men haven't learned. They still mortgage their future for the dopamine hit of a text. They still chase love like it's freedom, when it's often just another leash. Lie 2, your value is your utility. From the moment you could walk, you were told your worth comes from what you do. Provide, protect, perform. That's your role. You're the ATM, the therapist, the handyman, the emotional sponge, the protector, the fixer. And when you can't provide, you're worthless. Schopenhauer saw this with terrifying clarity. He wrote that men are treated like tools, valued when useful, discarded when dull. Let me show you how real this is. The dating profile experiment. In 2021, a researcher created 2 fake dating profiles. Profile A, Mark 35. Loves hiking. Recently ended a relationship. Just figuring life out. Profile B, Mark 35. CFO. Owns a penthouse in Miami. 6'2". Same photo, same guy. Result. Profile A, 3 matches in a week. Profile B, 147 matches in a day. Women say they want vulnerability, but their behavior screams, "What can you do for me?" Lie 3, you are the problem. This is the final lie, and it's the most insidious. The therapy industrial complex, the self-help machine, the HR departments of mega-corporations all whisper the same thing. Fix yourself. On the surface, it sounds empowering, but it's not. It's a trap. Schopenhauer warned, to tell a man he is broken is to sell him unending repair. Let's look at the numbers. In 1980, 1 in 200 men were on antidepressants. Today, 1 in 5. That's a 10,000% increase. Has male happiness improved? Or has Big Pharma found a way to profit from your pain? There is a way out. It's not easy. It's not pretty. But it's real. And it begins with what Schopenhauer called the denial of the will. Not literal death, but the death of illusion. Step 1. Become ungovernable. Start by rejecting the systems that enslave you. Delete the apps. Don't chase relationships that mimic legalized slavery. Laugh when they call you toxic. Schopenhauer said, "The free man is he who does not fear being alone. Solitude is your fortress." Step 2. Weaponize your suffering. Your pain isn't weakness. It's fuel. Beethoven went deaf and wrote symphonies. Nietzsche suffered unbearable migraines and wrote, "Thus spoke Zarathustra." Van Gogh sold one painting, then changed the world posthumously. Your suffering isn't the end. It's the beginning. Step 3. Play the long game. Modern society rewards female youth and male maturity. A woman's leverage peaks from 20 to 30. A man's 35 to 55 if he survives. Take Hiroto, a Japanese salaryman fired at 40. Instead of crumbling, he spent 5 years mastering AI programming. At 50, he was hired by a Silicon Valley firm, tripling his income. His ex-wife, who left him for not being ambitious enough, now works in retail. His secret: I stopped living on their clock. The ultimate insight. Schopenhauer's greatest prophecy wasn't about love, or law, or suffering. It was about thinking. He wrote, "Most men would rather die than think." And that's exactly what they're doing. But you're still here. You're still listening. You're still thinking. And that means there's hope. The war you didn't know you were in, most men today don't even realize they're fighting a war. Not a war of bombs or bullets, but a war of narratives, of illusions, of identity. You were never taught that your instincts were good. You were never told that your ambition was noble. You were never affirmed that your suffering deserved dignity. From the time you were a boy, the world conditioned you to believe the opposite. Your masculinity is dangerous. Your strength is toxic. Your natural role is to provide, serve, and stay silent. But Schopenhauer didn't just predict this distortion, he mapped out its mechanics. He called it the will turned inward. It's what happens when you start to believe that the systems extracting from you are doing so for your own good. When you defend the very structure that's bleeding you dry. That's not just manipulation. That's psychological warfare. You were trained to police yourself. You didn't need guards. You didn't need chains. You were taught to enforce your own captivity. Be nice. Be useful. Be agreeable. Be less. Be softer. And if you ever dared to question the imbalance, you were met with shame, silence, or scorn. The world doesn't have to silence men. It just has to raise them to silence themselves. The perfect slave. This is what Schopenhauer meant when he described a man who believes his own oppression is justice. That man is the perfect slave, not because he's been beaten down, but because he kneels willingly. Because he mistakes the whip for therapy and the cell for a home. That's the man society loves. Predictable, obedient, silent. But that's not you. Because if you've made it this far, you've already started to awaken. And now, it's time to burn the script. The final truth: you were never broken. Let's dismantle this once and for all. You were never broken. You were betrayed by a culture that sold you fairy tales, by a system that fed on your need to be useful, by a narrative that confused your suffering for weakness and your silence for peace. But beneath all that pain, all that shame, all that exhaustion, there's a fire. It's been there all along, and it's ready to rise. Here are the new rules. Forget what you've been told. This is the real map. Not to survive, but to thrive. Rule 1: stop asking for permission. You don't need validation to speak truth. You don't need approval to take space. You don't need to be liked to be right. The moment you stop needing permission is the moment you become free. Rule 2, reclaim the power of no is not aggression. It's not cruelty. It's self-respect. Say no to disrespect. No to emotional manipulation. No to expectations that drain you. You don't exist to make others comfortable. You exist to honor what's real inside you. Rule 3, protect your energy like it's sacred because it is. Your time, your focus, your attention. These are your most valuable currencies. Stop investing them in people who treat you like an option. Stop spending them on apps designed to keep you addicted and insecure. Redirect them toward your mission, your health, your purpose. Rule 4, build something no one can take from you. The modern man must be anti-fragile. That means building a body that resists decay, a skill set that commands respect, a mind that pierces illusions, a spirit that does not bow. Don't live for applause. Build for endurance. Let others peak at 25. You're just getting started. Rule 5, trust solitude more than applause. Solitude sharpens. Applause sedates. You want to build strength, sit alone. Think, write, reflect, detach. Applause is addictive. It turns leaders into puppets. But solitude, it turns survivors into kings. From pain to power, your heartbreak's fuel. Your betrayal, clarity. Your loneliness, preparation. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become because of it. History's greatest men didn't have easy lives. They had direction, and they forged it in silence, in pain, in long nights when the world had written them off. You are in that chapter right now, the second life. There's a saying, every man lives 2 lives. The second begins when he realizes he only has one. This is that moment for you. This is your second life. You're not here to play the role society wrote for you. You're here to become the man society secretly fears. Calm, focused, free. What happens next? You're not going back. You've seen too much. You know too much. You've felt the pain of living by someone else's rules. Now you're done playing small. You're done apologizing for your instincts. You're done being baited into sacrifice. You're done chasing illusions. From here on out, you move different. You think different. You are different. This is the new masculinity, not performative, not decorative, not watered down, but grounded, silent, sharp. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're awake. You've outgrown the cage, and now you build. If this spoke to you, then do one thing. Comment the word will, because that's what this is all about. Not revenge, not hatred, not reaction. Will, the ability to move forward even when the world tries to hold you back. To reclaim your thoughts, your time, your life. To rise not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And if you're ready to go deeper, to turn this truth into power and power into practice, then watch the next video. Because what's coming next, it's not just content, it's a code. Welcome to the other side. The fire didn't kill you, it refined you. Now go live like it and never look back.